Welcome to Bankruptcy, Through the Looking Glass, with Barry Levine.
Welcome back to Bankruptcy Through the Looking Glass with Barry Levine. I'm Evan Mack, and today's episode takes on a topic that's often overlooked but deeply important: the connection between financial distress and mental health. This is Bankruptcy and Mental Health, Breaking the Stigma. Barry Levine, sir, welcome back.
Nice to see you. I hope you don't notice all my twitches. I'm just, my
No,
mental
listen,
health
you
after 45 years. Oh, we don't want to
cool
go
as a
there.
cucumber right now. So how often do you see, these mental health challenges like anxiety, depression tied to financial distress?
Actually, all too often.
Really?
I've had a number of cases where people have been incapacitated by their debts, and the fact that they're a debtor and owe money, and my feeling is, what are they going to do to you? You go to work, you do this, and I mean, to such an extent that they haven't been able to do anything. But like I said, I have the ability, like I try to tell them, it's only money. It's not their health. It's not this or that. I mean, the credit cards can survive. And when I go through the bankruptcy process, I mean, what people don't know is it's the unknown of the process itself. Now you're looking at me today. If I can figure out which side goes which on this camera here, you see my T-shirt. 63 Earths can go inside Uranus. 64 if you relax. I was wearing that today at a 341 meeting at 9:30. It's not the end of the world. I mean, creditors can be annoying. They can call you. They can nudge you. But the thing is, until they file suit, that's all they're doing. And once they file suit, you'll talk to them a year and a half later when they get a judgment. And then getting a judgment does nothing to it for them. They have to get paid. So most people, it's the fear of the unknown. It's what their friend told them, or they read someplace, or they heard someplace. And yeah, I heard too. It's not true. I use the same language. Well, maybe not in a 341 meeting because there are other people there, but I do speak Yiddish at the 341 meetings. I used to speak it to the judges too.
But Barry, what do you tell these people though when they're having to go through bankruptcy and they're super stressed out and they don't know, it's the unknown to them? How do you help them navigate that feeling that they're having?
Well, dating myself, take a chill pill. I try to tell them it's not the end of the world. I go through the process, and once, the thing is, once I've been retained, and that doesn't necessarily being paid to file a bankruptcy tomorrow, I can start, I tell them, for lack of a better phrase, jerking around their creditors. They start referring them to me. They get a letter, they refer it to me. 9 times out of 10, even if a creditor files a lawsuit, when they find out that the debtor has retained an attorney to file a bankruptcy, they're going to waste their time. And I send them a very nice letter, telling them I've been retained to file a bankruptcy. And the thing is, after 45 years, I don't bullshit. There's some attorneys who may say, yeah, no, they're going to file. May not happen tomorrow, but they're going to file. And the second thing is, then they neither have the financial inclination or the financial wherewithal to pay a claim they're going to discharge in their bankruptcy. So usually, because most of the collection attorneys out here know me, they just sort of fall back on it and don't bother, because why spend more money? I mean, it's not worth it.
So what about these myths, you know what I mean, and the societal stigmas that kind of make these people have these mental health issues, while they're, you know what I mean?
It stays on your credit report for 10 years.
Yep.
It does this, it does that.
Yep.
There are ways to rebuild your credit post bankruptcy. Credit card companies will consider somebody who makes a decent living, like 35, 40 grand or more, as a post discharge debtor, a good credit risk, because they won't file a bankruptcy. They can't file a bankruptcy again for 8 years. So they'll give them a small line of credit.
Okay.
Clients Debtors who own homes or have cars and continue to pay them, that will show up on their credit report if they reaffirm the debt going forward, that they've made new payments. And then if it's somebody who's basically, has no had no credit, got credit, and now will have no credit again, there's always the collateralized credit card, uh,
Mhm.
which is fairly easy to get. You put money in a savings bank, in a savings account or a CD, they give you a credit card with a line of credit. You make the payments, everything is great. You don't make the payments, they take your money. It's fairly.
Let's look at it from a different way, though. How can bankruptcy be used as a tool, to kind of help with your emotional distress?
Well, to me, it sort of it makes it all go away. I,
Mhm.
I mean, you file a bankruptcy if you're concerned about the lawsuits and this, the automatic stay goes into effect. That stops. The creditors can no longer nudge you or send you. In fact, so many debtors are surprised to find out. So now, let's say uh, you have a mortgage with XYZ Bank and you set it up so that they can take your payment out automatically every month, which I would never do, but if you feel like letting a bank come into your money and take it out, that's up to you. But what happens when you file a bankruptcy is the bank automatically stops that. They consider it a violation of the automatic stay. That's aggravating to people going forward because now, God forbid, they may have to actually write a check
Mhm.
and send it to the bank. Oh, God. I'm old. I remember when that's all you could do. Uh, and but mostly it gives them the peace of mind. I mean, most bankruptcy filings, getting back to my elderly client, I mean, the bottom line is if somebody's in the late 80s, the odds are they're going to die before a creditor is going to do something to them. And if they're on Social Security, even if they get a judgment, what's a judge going to order somebody on Social Security to pay? Zilch.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but it's the peace of mind that comes from filing a bankruptcy, knowing it's all gone. They can rest easy. That's really what it provides for them.
Do you see value in mental health professionals, supporting people that are going through bankruptcy?
Well, I mean, mental health professionals provide support for all sorts of
Right.
things. I would think if you see one because you're having financial problems, if they provide solace, I mean, why not? I don't think it's necessary because listen, the boogeyman isn't going to come, the Gestapo isn't going to come. When my mother was alive, my mother came over on the last boat from Europe before World War II,
Wow.
and she was what, 83. She was in a little fender bender in her condo. No, this is a long time before. She wasn't 83 then. She was 83 recently, and she was a little fender bender in a condo, and she spent 2 days in her condo thinking the Gestapo was going to come to
Mhm.
pick her up. And it's like,
Mhm.
Mom, it's still America. It's not Germany,
Mhm.
but that's, they think something like that's going to happen. And like I said, all these things, all the bad things that a creditor can do to you don't happen in a vacuum. You know what I'm saying? Even if a creditor, I mean, I can't talk about other states, but I know in Massachusetts, you used to be able to go in and get, you know what ex parte means?
Yes.
Okay. You used to be able to get an ex parte bank attachment.
Yep.
Right? So if you had a business, you owed a creditor some money, they would go file a complaint with their ex parte motion for a bank attachment. And a week later, you'd find out all your checks were bouncing because the attachment was allowed and served on your bank. So somewhere along the lines, decades already, the judges decided that was inappropriate. So now, even if they go in for a bank attachment, they give notice to the defendant. So what happens in the 20 days before the attachment? Is there any money left in the account? But those are the only things. I mean, and everything like that is telegraphed. Most of this other stuff is in their minds. It
Right.
really,
Right.
they'll say, does the trustee come to your house to look at the assets? In 45 years, it's never happened. You could be the first one. I mean, I don't know, but it's never happened. You know, it, it it's hey, listen, people. I'm a very mellow guy. There's nothing that ruffles me. So it's I don't
Listen, I can tell you don't get rattled too easy.
nothing. I find it tough to relate to that stuff. I mean,
You got to teach people. You got to teach people how you're so calm, though, because this is Clay. You got to try to use some of this
I can
energy.
show you the pipes on the other side of my desk.
I control. But what about warning signs though? Like for like financial situations that are affecting their mental health in a dangerous way. Like, let's say you're seeing some kind of signs throughout your career that
if
could be
you're
leading to something
starting
worse.
to get the kinds of notices from people, that the creditors, you haven't paid us in 6 months, this sort of thing, or alternatively, creditors very often, and I don't know what triggers it, but they'll run on an account like a credit report, and suddenly you'll get a notice that because you have so much other debt, they're cutting your credit line. There are lots of things. I mean, but the other thing that you find, I guess the flip side, is that there's the ostrich who, can get all these notices and get all the calls. It doesn't matter to them. The person who walks in and says, geez, I got a foreclosure this afternoon. How does that happen? I mean, I sit there and you can only laugh. It's tough to keep a straight face. How did that happen?
But for anyone feeling ashamed though, or isolated because of these financial struggles, like what can you tell them today to kind of put their mind at ease?
Well, I usually leave the dark rituals to after they get their discharge. We have to kill a goat. Satan appears, all this strange stuff. But no, it really, it's not the end of the world. I mean, and nobody. The worst thing that could happen is if you ignore the creditors. That's really when bad things occur. But if you pay attention to all this shit that you get, nothing happens in a vacuum in America. And I do spell that with a K, but I'm old. And, you can't worry about it because, as I say all too often, it is what it is.
Right.
If you get yourself in the shitter, you get yourself in the shitter. You have to figure out a way to extricate yourself and realize, I guess it's a common trait. People don't like to take responsibility for anything. So, suddenly you're having your debt thrown in your face and, it wasn't my fault.
Barry Levine has been enlightening as always, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in to Bankruptcy Through the Looking Glass with the great Barry Levine. To connect with Barry, head to levineslaw.com. Like, subscribe, leave a review if you found this information helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through bankruptcy. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.